My name is Lila Hayes, and I was 27 years old when I learned the true price of trust. It wasn't paid in tears, though there were plenty of those. It was paid in betrayal, served cold on a silver platter of my grandmother's legacy. And ultimately, in the sweet, sharp tang of revenge I never knew I had in me. It all started with the scent of sun-warmed grapes and the promise of a future that tasted like dust in the end. The late afternoon sun bled gold over the rolling hills of Sea Spray Vineyards, my inheritance. Gran's final gift, arriving 6 months after her quiet passing. The air hummed with the promise of harvest, thick with the perfume of ripe Pinot Noir grapes and salt carried on the breeze from the nearby Maine coast. It felt like possibility solidified in soil and vine. And beside me, holding my hand with deceptive tenderness, was Carter Reed. Carter, my charming, attentive, perfect boyfriend of a year. He'd appeared in my life like a summer storm, intense, captivating, washing away the lingering grief of losing Gran. He remembered anniversaries I'd forgotten, brought me steaming chai lattes on foggy mornings, listened with rapt attention as I rambled about vineyard logistics I barely understood myself. He was my anchor, my confidant, or so I'd believed. "It's breathtaking, Lila," Carter murmured, his voice smooth as aged Merlot. He squeezed my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my knuckle. We stood on the wraparound porch of the grand, slightly shabby Victorian farmhouse that anchored the property. "Just like you, Gran knew what she was doing, leaving this to you. It's destiny." His blue eyes held mine, sincere, adoring, the picture of devotion. A warmth spread through me, unrelated to the setting sun. Gran's lawyer, Mr. Henderson, a dry stick of a man, had handed me the keys and the thick legal documents just that morning. The vineyard wasn't just land. It was a complex business, heavily mortgaged after a series of bad harvests and Gran's final illness. The inheritance came with a crushing weight, mountains of debt threatening to swallow the legacy whole. Carter knew this. I'd confided in him, weeping over the seemingly insurmountable burden just last week. "Oh, sweetheart," he'd whispered, pulling me close, his breath warm against my hair. "Don't cry. We'll figure it out. Together. That's what partners do. I'm not going anywhere." His words had been a balm, solidifying my trust. His unwavering support felt like the only stable thing in the whirlwind of probate and panic. Life settled into a deceptive rhythm. Carter became a fixture at Sea Spray. He'd charm the weary vineyard manager Tom, discussing trellising systems he'd clearly just Googled. He'd bring gourmet picnics for us amidst the vines, talking endlessly about our future, our plans. He'd hold me at night, murmuring about weddings overlooking the ocean, children running through the rows of grapes. His love felt like a fortress, a beautiful, gilded cage I was willingly walking into. Then came the Tuesday that shattered everything. Carter had left his phone charging on the kitchen counter, buzzing insistently. He'd rushed out to meet a potential investor, he'd said, leaving his jacket slung over a chair. The buzzing stopped, replaced by the chime of an incoming voice memo notification. Curiosity, that treacherous little beast, pricked at me. His phone background was still a picture of us, laughing on the beach. How could looking be wrong? My finger hovered, then tapped. The memo was labeled, "Strategy Session, Sea Spray Gold Mine." A cold finger traced my spine. Gold mine? Sea Spray was hemorrhaging money. I tapped play. Carter's voice, familiar yet utterly alien in its tone, cynical, boastful, laced with cruel amusement, filled the quiet kitchen. Yeah, I know. Patience is a virtue, fellas. But trust me, it's almost harvest time in more ways than one. Lila's clueless, still crying over Grandma's debt letters." A chorus of male laughter crackled through the speaker. The old bat left her a sinking ship, but guess what? The lifeboat's named Carter Reed. My blood turned to ice. I gripped the cold granite countertop. She's signing the final inheritance papers next week. Once that fat trust fund hits her account, it becomes our account. The prenup? Pfft. She trusts me like a puppy. I'll have her sign something toothless, if anything at all. We get married quick and quiet. I play the devoted hubby for, let's say, a year. Long enough to move serious assets, set up some investments. Then, he paused, the silence thick with malice. Poof, irreconcilable differences. I walk away with half of everything. Maybe more, depending on how good my lawyer is. And the best part? She's so drowning in the vineyard's debt she won't even notice the cash slipping away until it's gone. I get rich. She gets the rotting grapes and the bill collectors. More laughter. Crude jokes about my naivety. My heart wasn't just breaking, it was shattering. Each shard embedding itself in my lungs, making it hard to breathe. The kitchen tiles felt like ice beneath my bare feet. The scent of the coffee Carter had brewed that morning now smelled like betrayal. The man who whispered sweet nothings in my ear was plotting my financial evisceration with his friends, laughing at my grief over grand struggles. The vineyard wasn't a legacy to him, it was a carcass to pick clean. The world narrowed to the cold phone in my hand and the roaring silence in my head. Despair, thick and suffocating, washed over me first, the kind that steals your breath and makes your limbs heavy. The fortress of his love was a mirage, the gilded cage suddenly a prison cell. I'd been a fool, a trusting, love-starved fool. Then, cutting through the despair like a shard of that broken heart, came a different feeling. Cold, sharp, focused. A diamond forming under immense pressure. Rage. Not the hot, screaming kind, but a deep glacial fury that settled in my bones. He thought I was drowning. He thought sea spray was a sinking ship he could loot. He thought my love, Grand's legacy, was a gold mine for his taking. Number. He'd miscalculated. He saw the debt as a weakness. I saw it as a weapon. Gran hadn't just left me a vineyard, she'd left me her shrewdness, buried under layers of grief. It was time to dig it up. The next morning, I plastered on my best vulnerable smile when Carter returned, all charm and apologies for being gone so long. My skin crawled as he kissed my forehead. I let him hold me, feeling the hollowness where trust used to be. "Rough meeting?" I asked, my voice carefully fragile. He sighed dramatically. "Just sharks, sweetheart. Everyone wants a piece of sea spray now the inheritance is final. We need to be smart. Protect us." His eyes were earnest, practiced. "We need to think about our future security. Together." The hook was baited. I let him set it. "You're right," I whispered, nestling closer, hiding my revulsion. "I've been so scared, Carter. This debt, it's overwhelming. I feel like I'm failing Gran already." A single perfectly timed tear escaped. What if we combined forces? Really showed them we're a united front? I looked up at him, wide-eyed. Before the wedding, I mean. To show commitment. A joint financial foundation? His eyes lit up with predatory glee, quickly masked by tender concern. "Lila, honey, that's bold. Are you sure? It's a big step." "I trust you," I breathed, the biggest lie I'd ever told. "You said we'd figure it out together. This feels right. Solid. Like we're building something real against the world." I laid it on thick, painting a picture of romantic financial unity, a fortress built on love and shared assets. His fantasy, twisted to my purpose. He ate it up. "You're incredible," he murmured, kissing my hair. "So brave." "Okay, let's do it. A joint foundation. We'll get the papers drawn up. Something solid, showing our mutual commitment to our future and our assets." He stressed the possessives. Our assets. Meaning, soon, his assets. I suggested using Grand's old trusted lawyer, Mr. Henderson. He knows the vineyard inside out, Carter. It'll be faster, cheaper. Carter readily agreed, eager to bypass any unfamiliar scrutiny. He didn't know Mr. Henderson's loyalty was to Grand's memory, and by extension, to me. I'd visited the stoic lawyer the day after discovering the voice memo, armed with the recording and a cold, clear plan. His initial shock had melted into grim understanding and a fierce, protective determination. A week later, we sat in Mr. Henderson's wood-paneled office. The air smelled of leather and dust. Carter vibrated with barely contained excitement, his knee bouncing under the polished mahogany desk. He looked every inch the devoted fiancé, ready to merge his life with mine. I clutched a tissue, playing the nervous, trusting heiress. Mr. Henderson slid 2 thick documents across the desk. "The agreement for shared financial foundation," he intoned, his voice dry as parchment. "As discussed, Miss Hayes, Mr. Reed, it establishes a unified approach to managing and securing the assets and liabilities associated with Sea Spray Vineyards, predicated on your impending marital union and mutual commitment." He spoke slowly, deliberately. "It details the pooling of resources and the shared responsibility for the estate's financial obligations." Carter barely glanced at the dense legalese. His eyes scanned, not for understanding, but for the words he wanted to see. Joint, assets, unified, shared responsibility. He saw the mechanism for accessing my inheritance, the framework for his plunder. He saw the gold mine opening its gates. He didn't expect my smile. It was small, cold, and utterly terrifying. I slowly rose to my feet, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Exit strategy?" I repeated, my voice low and steady. "That's interesting. Because according to Clause 7B of your clever little piece of paper, the one you signed without reading, your exit just got a lot more complicated." His smirk faltered. A flicker of unease crossed his face. "What are you talking about?" "Clause 7B outlines shared asset management protocols." "Read it again, Carter," I said softly, walking towards Mr. Henderson's mahogany desk where a copy of the agreement lay. I picked it up, my fingers tracing the embossed letterhead. Specifically, subsection gamma, the part after the part about shared assets, the part about shared liabilities. His face paled slightly. "Liabilities? We share the profits, the assets, and the obligations," I finished, my voice like shards of ice. "All pre-existing, contingent, and future financial obligations of Sea Spray Vineyards Holdings, LLC, its subsidiaries, and its associated debt instruments." I quoted the clause verbatim, the words I'd memorized, the words Mr. Henderson had crafted with surgical precision. "Signed over willingly by Carter Alexander Reed, as joint principal and guarantor. Binding upon execution, irrespective of marital status." The color drained completely from his face. He looked like he'd been punched. That's not possible. That's not what we agreed. That clause. You tricked me. Henderson." He whirled towards the door as if expecting the lawyer to appear. "Mr. Henderson explained Clause 7B, Carter," I said, placing the document back on the desk with deliberate calm. "You chose not to listen. You were too busy signing your way to my gold mine." I let the word hang in the air, heavy with the echo of his own voice memo. He staggered back a step, realization dawning like a slow, horrifying sunrise. "The debt," he choked out. "The loans, the mortgages." "Approximately $2.3 million, I confirmed, my voice devoid of emotion. "Accruing interest daily, secured against the land, the equipment, the house. And now, thanks to your signature binding you as a guarantor on the foundation agreement, secured against you, Carter. Personally, jointly and severally liable," I let the legal term sink in. "That means they can come after you, Carter. For all of it. Your savings, your investments, that fancy apartment in Portland, your future earnings. I took a step towards him, the predator now cornered. Your alternative funding? I suggest you use it for a very, very good lawyer. His eyes widened in pure, unadulterated panic. The charming facade was obliterated, replaced by raw, animal fear. You bitch! He spat, the venomous word echoing in the suddenly cavernous room. He lunged, not at me, but towards the desk, grabbing the agreement. He frantically flipped pages, his eyes scanning the dense text, searching for a loophole, a mistake. His hands trembled. It's airtight, Carter, I said quietly, watching him unravel. Mr. Henderson saw to that. Witnessed, notarized, filed. You signed it freely, declaring your understanding and commitment. You wanted to be partners? Congratulations. You just partnered with $2.3 million of Grand's legacy debt. He looked up from the document, his face a mask of fury and terror. I'll fight this. I'll have this thrown out. I'll tell them you coerced me. Coerced you? I let out a cold laugh, the sound sharp in the tense air. With what? My tears? My trust? The voice memo you accidentally left on your phone? The one where you detailed your entire plan to marry me, loot the trust fund, and dump me with the debt? Yeah, Carter. I have that too. Mr. Henderson has a copy. A judge would love to hear it. It paints a very clear picture of who coerced whom. He froze. The fight seemed to drain out of him, replaced by a sickening dread. He stared at me, truly seeing me for the first time, not the naive heiress, but the woman he'd underestimated, the woman who'd turned his greed against him with chilling precision. You planned this, he whispered, his voice hoarse. I protected what was mine, I corrected, my voice steady, final. Grand's legacy, and myself. You saw a victim. You found a reckoning. I walked towards the front door, the one overlooking the vines now bare and waiting for winter. I opened it. The cold, salty wind rushed in, scouring the room clean of his presence. Get out, Carter. Your lawyers can talk to mine. I suggest you start selling anything that isn't nailed down. You have a lot of bills coming due. He didn't move immediately. He stood there, amidst the remnants of the life he'd tried to steal, holding the document that sealed his fate, looking utterly broken. The weight of his own avarice pressed down on him, visible in the slump of his shoulders, the tremor in his hands. Finally, without another word, without meeting my eyes, he stumbled towards the door, clutching the agreement like a death warrant. He paused on the threshold, the wind whipping his hair. He looked back, not at me, but at the Grand Victorian, the rolling hills beyond, the gold mine he'd coveted, now a millstone around his neck. His face was ashen, etched with a despair far deeper than any I'd felt. It wasn't just the money. It was the utter ruin of his carefully constructed predatory life. Then he was gone, disappearing into the twilight, swallowed by the vineyard he'd tried to plunder. I closed the door slowly. The silence that descended wasn't empty. It was profound, clean. The scent of betrayal was gone, replaced by the familiar, comforting smells of old wood, dust, and the faint, lingering promise of grapes. The crushing weight of the debt hadn't vanished, but its terror had. It wasn't my burden anymore, not solely. It was Carter's cross to bear, forged by his own signature and greed. I walked back to the desk, picked up the signed agreement. My signature looked strong, decisive. His looked like a desperate scrawl. The paper wasn't just a contract, it was my shield, my victory flag. Grand's shrewdness, her fierce protectiveness, flowed through me. She hadn't just left me a vineyard, she'd left me the tools to defend it, and myself. Months later, I stand on the same porch where Carter once spun his web of lies. Spring is tentative, but the vines are showing green shoots. It's been a brutal negotiation, Carter's lawyers screamed fraud, coercion, anything to break the contract. Mr. Henderson, armed with the voice memo and the clear evidence of Carter's own words and hasty signature, was an immovable wall. The court upheld the agreement. Carter is legally bound. He's selling everything: the Portland apartment, the flashy car, the stocks he bragged about. Every penny is being funneled towards Sea Spray's debt. It's not gone, not yet, but it's manageable. Tom and I are working with renewed purpose, implementing real plans, not Carter's fantasies of exploitation. We're partnering with local wineries, exploring agritourism. The vineyard isn't just surviving, it's starting to breathe again. A letter arrived yesterday from Carter's lawyer. Not a threat, a plea, a request to discuss mitigating circumstances and a potential settlement offer. Essentially, him begging me to take less than he legally owes so he might avoid complete destitution. I haven't answered yet. I look out over the rows of vines, bathed in the pale gold of the setting sun. The air smells of damp earth and hope. The crushing despair Carter inflicted is a memory, replaced by a deep, resonant satisfaction. Not just because he's paying, literally, for his betrayal, but because I found a strength I never knew I possessed. I didn't just survive his poisonous love, I turned it into the fertilizer for my own rebirth. He thought he was trapping me with promises of love. He never imagined I'd build a cage of his own greed and lock him inside it. The debt remains, but its shadow no longer chills me. Sea Spray is mine, truly mine. And as the first truly warm breeze of spring whispers through the new leaves, carrying the salt and the promise of the sea, I smile. It's not the smile of someone who got away. It's the smile of someone who fought back, who outmaneuvered the predator and reclaimed her life, vine by vine. The taste of vengeance? It's surprisingly sweet, especially when paired with the prospect of a very good vintage this year.